My name is Jessica Monroe, 27 years old, and the day my mother looked me in the eye and said, "We're not paying for this circus," was the day I realized I'd been living my entire life waiting for her approval that would never come. Those words didn't just cancel a wedding. They shattered the carefully constructed illusion that if I just tried hard enough, loved hard enough, bent far enough, she might finally see me as enough. I was standing in the bridal boutique when it happened, surrounded by ivory tulle and champagne-colored silk, my mother's voice cutting through the soft music like a knife through butter. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The consultant had just brought out my dream dress, the one I'd been sketching in notebooks since I was 16, a simple A-line gown with delicate lace sleeves and a cathedral train that made me feel like I was walking on clouds. Mom took one look at the price tag and her face turned to stone. $3,500 for a dress you'll wear once? Absolutely not. Her tone wasn't just disapproving. It was disgusted, like I'd suggested we set money on fire and dance around it. I swallowed hard, feeling the familiar tightness in my chest that always came when I disappointed her. "Mom, this is my wedding dress. It's supposed to be special." She laughed, sharp and humorless. "Special? Jessica, this entire wedding has spiraled into some kind of fantasy production. The venue, the flowers, the photographer who charges more than most people make in a month. When did you become so frivolous?" The consultant excused herself quietly, sensing the storm brewing. I stood there in my jeans and sweater, holding the hanger like it might anchor me to reality. "You said you wanted to help plan it," I whispered. "You said this was important to you too." "I said I'd help with a reasonable wedding," she corrected, her voice rising now. "Not this circus. Not this overpriced spectacle designed to impress people who won't even remember it in 6 months." My fiancé, Daniel, had been waiting outside, but he must have heard her voice because he appeared in the doorway, concern etched across his face. "Everything okay in here?" Mom turned to him like he'd personally offended her. "Daniel, maybe you can talk some sense into her. This dress alone costs more than my first car." He looked at me, then at her, clearly trying to navigate waters he'd never been taught to swim in. "Mrs. Monroe, if Jessica loves the dress, we can figure out a way to make it work." Wrong answer. Her eyes went cold. "Oh, I see. So you're encouraging this too. Let me guess, you think $30,000 for one day is perfectly reasonable." $30,000? Daniel blinked. "The budget's 18. "Well, congratulations," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "It's 30 now. I've been watching the invoices pile up. The upgraded menu, the live band instead of a DJ, the destination rehearsal dinner. Every week it's something new, something more expensive, something more excessive." I felt my face burning. "Mom, we've been careful. We've stayed within budget." "Whose budget?" she snapped. "Because it certainly isn't mine. Your father and I agreed to contribute $15,000. That was generous. That was more than fair. But you've turned this into something we never agreed to fund." The boutique suddenly felt too small, the air too thick. "So what are you saying?" She straightened her purse on her shoulder, the gesture so final it made my stomach drop. "I'm saying we're done. Your father and I are pulling our contribution. If you want this circus, you'll pay for it yourself." The words hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. "You're serious," I breathed. "Completely." She moved toward the door, then paused. "And frankly, Jessica, maybe this is exactly what you need. A dose of reality. You've always lived in a dream world, and Daniel's been enabling it. It's time you both grew up and learned what things actually cost." She left without saying goodbye, the bell above the door chiming cheerfully as if nothing had just been destroyed. Daniel reached for my hand, but I pulled away, suddenly furious at him, at her, at myself for believing this time might be different. The consultant returned hesitantly. "Should I put the dress on hold?" I stared at my reflection in the three-way mirror, seeing not a bride but a girl who'd spent 27 years trying to earn love that came with a price tag and an expiration date. "No," I said quietly. "We're done here." That night, I sat at our small kitchen table in the apartment Daniel and I shared in Portland, staring at a spreadsheet that suddenly looked like a ransom note. Venue deposit, $5,000. Caterer, $8,000. Photographer, $3,500. Florist, $2,000. Band, $4,000. The numbers blurred together until they stopped meaning anything except failure. Daniel brought me tea I didn't ask for and sat down across from me, his expression careful in the way people look when they're afraid you might shatter. "We can postpone," he offered gently. "Give us time to save up." I shook my head, unable to speak past the knot in my throat. Because this wasn't really about the money. It was about the fact that my mother had looked at the most important day of my life and called it a circus. It was about the realization that every milestone I'd ever reached had come with her critique attached like a price tag I could never quite afford. When I was 16 and made the honor roll, she'd said, "B+ in chemistry?" I expected better. When I graduated college with honors, she'd frowned at my liberal arts degree and asked when I planned to get a real job. When Daniel proposed on a beach in California with a ring he'd saved for 8 months to buy, she'd examined the diamond and said, "Well, it's small, but I suppose it's the thought that counts." Nothing was ever enough. And I'd spent my whole life trying to prove her wrong. The wedding was supposed to be different. She'd seemed excited at first, booking appointments at venues, sending me Pinterest boards of centerpiece ideas. For a few precious weeks, I'd believed we were finally on the same team. Then the criticism started. The venue was too trendy. The menu was too complicated. The dress code was too formal. My bridesmaids were too young. My maid of honor, my best friend since college, wasn't classy enough. With every complaint, I'd adjusted, compromised, redesigned. But it was never enough. It would never be enough. I looked up at Daniel, this kind, steady man who'd somehow loved me despite the chaos that came with my family, and felt something crack open inside my chest. "I'm calling it off," I said. Daniel's face went pale. "Jess, wait. Let's think about this." "I have thought about it," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "Every single day for the past 6 months, I've thought about nothing else. And you know what I realized tonight? Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. I'd been planning a wedding to make my mother happy, not us." He reached across the table, covering my hand with his. "That's not true. We chose everything together." "Did we?" I pulled up my phone, scrolling through months of text messages. "Look. Mom says the salmon is too expensive, so we switched to chicken. Mom says the venue is too modern, so we added vintage decorations we didn't want. Mom says September is too hot, so we moved it to October even though that's your busy season at work." Daniel's jaw tightened because he knew I was right. He'd watched me twist myself into knots trying to satisfy someone who couldn't be satisfied. "I'm not calling off the wedding," I clarified, watching relief flood his features. "I'm calling off her version of it. We're doing this our way, with our money, on our terms." "Okay," he said slowly. "What does that look like?" I closed the laptop, suddenly feeling lighter than I had in months. "I don't know yet. But it starts with me stopping payment on that venue deposit check tomorrow morning." His eyes widened. "Jessica, that's $5,000. That we were paying to impress people who made me feel small my entire life," I said. "I'm done performing." The next morning, I woke up with a clarity that felt almost dangerous. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and started drafting emails. The first one went to the venue coordinator, a sprawling estate in wine country that cost more per hour than I made in a week. I explained that we were canceling due to changed circumstances and requested a refund of our deposit minus the cancellation fee. My hands shook as I hit send, but I didn't regret it. The second email went to my mother. It took me 45 minutes to write 3 sentences. Mom, Daniel and I have decided to plan a wedding that reflects who we actually are, not who you think we should be. We'll be moving forward without your financial contribution or your input. I hope you'll still choose to attend, but that's entirely up to you. I didn't write love, Jessica. I just wrote my name. The third email was easier. It went to my younger sister, Amanda, who'd been watching this entire disaster unfold from her apartment in Seattle. Amanda, just a heads up. Things are about to get messy. I'm canceling the big wedding. Mom's going to lose it. I'm okay. I love you. Talk soon. I sent them all within 5 minutes of each other, then closed my laptop and went for a run before I could spiral into panic. By the time I got back, my phone had 17 missed calls. 12 from my mother. 3 from my father. 2 from Amanda. None of them had left voicemails, which somehow felt more ominous than if they had. I showered, made breakfast, and finally called Amanda back. She picked up on the first ring. Oh my God, Jess, are you okay? Mom called me at 7 in the morning screaming about how you've lost your mind. I'm fine, I said, and realized I actually meant it. Better than fine, actually. She said you're throwing away thousands of dollars and embarrassing the entire family. I laughed, a short bitter sound. Of course she did. Because heaven forbid I make a decision that doesn't revolve around her comfort. Amanda was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. She's been unbearable about this wedding. Last month she called me to complain that your color scheme was too millennial. Sage green and cream is too millennial. Apparently real brides use ivory and blush. Amanda's voice was gentle, understanding in the way only siblings can be when they've survived the same childhood. Dad wants to talk to you, by the way. He asked me to tell you to call him. My stomach clenched. Dad was the diplomat, the peacekeeper, the one who'd spent 35 years smoothing over Mom's sharp edges. Is he mad? I don't think so. He sounded more tired than anything. I promised to call him later and hung up. The phone rang again immediately. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Jessica Monroe? A woman's voice, professional but warm. Yes? This is Caroline from Meadowbrook Estate. I got your email this morning. I'm so sorry to hear you're canceling. Is there anything we can do to change your mind? We'd hate to lose your business. I almost laughed. 2 months ago, this woman had made me feel like I should be grateful she was even considering our wedding. Now suddenly we were valued business. No, Caroline. We're moving in a different direction. Well, I understand. Per our contract, you'll forfeit $1,500 of your deposit as a cancellation fee, but we'll refund the remaining $3,500 within 7 to 10 business days. $3,500 coming back. That was the dress. That was possibility. That was freedom. That works. Thank you. Of course. And Jessica? I hope your new plans bring you joy. Weddings should be about love, not stress. After we hung up, I sat on the couch and let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. Relief. Terror. Grief for the fantasy I'd been clinging to. And underneath it all, a tiny seed of something that felt suspiciously like hope. Daniel came home from work that evening to find me surrounded by printouts and notebook pages, my laptop balanced on my knees. What's all this? I looked up, grinning. Research. Did you know you can rent a small community hall for $300? And there's a taco truck that caters events for $1,200. And my friend Rachel's sister is a photographer who's trying to build her portfolio. He sat down beside me, picking up one of the pages. A taco truck? I love tacos. You love tacos. Why are we serving overpriced chicken we had to taste test 4 times? He started laughing, really laughing, the kind that comes from relief and disbelief mixed together. Your mom is going to have an aneurysm. Probably, I agreed. But here's the thing. It won't be her aneurysm to have. Because she won't be involved. Daniel pulled me close, pressing a kiss to my temple. I'm proud of you. Those words, so simple, hit me harder than I expected. Because I couldn't remember the last time anyone had said them and meant it. My phone buzzed with a text. Mom. We need to talk. This is unacceptable. I typed back a single sentence. There's nothing to discuss. I'm an adult making adult decisions. Her response came in seconds. You're making a mistake. Everyone will think you're cheap. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, I'd rather be cheap than miserable, and blocked her number. The silence that followed felt like the first clean breath after years of drowning. That night, Daniel and I ordered pizza and made a list of everything we actually wanted at our wedding. A small guest list of people who genuinely loved us. Food we'd actually eat. Music we'd actually dance to. Vows we wrote ourselves instead of reciting from a script. By midnight, we had something that looked nothing like the wedding we'd been planning and everything like us. Think we can pull this off? Daniel asked, his arm around my shoulders. I looked at our messy handwritten notes, our crossed-out ideas and circled dreams, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Excitement. Yeah, I said. I really think we can. What I didn't know then was that my mother wasn't done fighting. And when someone spent your entire life controlling the narrative, they don't let go quietly. They burn everything down first. The war hadn't even started yet. The first attack came through my Aunt Linda, my mother's younger sister who lived 2 hours away in Eugene. She called on a Tuesday morning while I was getting ready for work, her voice dripping with concern that felt more like accusation. Jessica, honey, your mother is devastated. Absolutely devastated. She's barely eating. I tucked the phone between my ear and shoulder, continuing to apply mascara. Aunt Linda, I appreciate your concern, but this is between Mom and me. She's your mother, Linda pressed. She carried you for 9 months. She sacrificed everything for you. And this is how you repay her? By humiliating her in front of the entire family? My hand slipped, mascara smudging across my cheek. I haven't humiliated anyone. I just decided to plan my own wedding. By canceling everything she helped arrange? By blocking her number like she's some kind of stalker? Jessica, that's cruel. I grabbed a makeup wipe, scrubbing at the black streak. She called me 15 times in 1 hour. That's not normal communication. That's harassment. Linda made a disapproving sound. You sound just like your father. Cold. Ungrateful. Your mother is crying herself to sleep every night, and you don't even care. Something inside me snapped. You know what, Aunt Linda? If Mom wants to talk to me, she can call and apologize for calling my wedding a circus. Until then, I have nothing to say to her. I hung up before she could respond, my hands shaking so badly I had to sit down on the bathroom floor. This was it. This was what happened when you stopped performing. Everyone who'd benefited from your compliance suddenly became very concerned about your mental health. By Wednesday, my grandmother got involved. Nana Rita, 83 years old and sharp as ever, called from her retirement community in Arizona. Unlike Aunt Linda, she didn't pretend this was about concern. Jessica Monroe, what on earth has gotten into you? Hi, Nana, I said tiredly. Let me guess. Mom called you. She's beside herself. Says you've turned into some kind of bridezilla who expects everyone to bow down to your demands. I almost laughed. Is that what she told you? Because from where I'm standing, I just asked to plan my own wedding without her constant criticism. Nana was quiet for a moment. Then she said, in that way grandmothers have of cutting straight to the bone, your mother has always been difficult, Jessica. We all know that. But she's family. You don't just cut family out. I didn't cut her out, I said, my voice cracking. She cut herself out when she withdrew her support and called my choices frivolous. Money isn't love, sweetheart. Exactly, I whispered. So why does she think withholding it would control me? Nana sighed, long and heavy. Your mother shows love the only way she knows how. By trying to protect you from making mistakes. Maybe she's wrong about the wedding. Maybe she's wrong about a lot of things. But she's still your mother. After we hung up, I sat at my desk at work, staring blankly at spreadsheets I was supposed to be reviewing. The pressure was building from every direction, each family member calling to remind me of my obligations, my ingratitude, my cruelty. Nobody asked what she'd said to me. Nobody asked if I was okay. I was just expected to apologize, comply, and return to my designated role as the daughter who made everything easy. Thursday brought a new low. My father finally called, his voice heavy with exhaustion. Jessie, we need to talk about your mother. I closed my eyes, already bracing for impact. Dad, please don't. She's not well. She hasn't left the house in 3 days. She's convinced the entire family thinks she's a terrible mother. Maybe she should examine why she feels that way, I said, hating how cold I sounded. That's not fair, Dad said quietly. She loves you. She's just worried you're making a mistake you'll regret. By marrying Daniel? By planning a wedding I can actually afford? Which part exactly is the mistake? He sighed. You know how she is. She wants things done a certain way. It's not personal. It's always personal, Dad. Every single time. Nothing I do is ever good enough for her. And I'm tired of pretending that's normal. There was a long pause. She wants to meet. Just the two of you. Talk things through like adults. My stomach turned. I'm not ready for that. Jessica, please. She's your mother. At least give her a chance to apologize. Has she said she wants to apologize? Or does she just want a chance to explain why I'm wrong? Silence answered me, and I knew. Of course she hadn't said sorry. She probably didn't even think she'd done anything wrong. I'll think about it, I lied, just to end the conversation. Friday afternoon, I discovered she'd escalated beyond family. My boss, Karen, called me into her office with a strange expression on her face. Jessica, this is awkward, but I received a call today from someone claiming to be your mother. My blood went cold. What did she say? Karen looked uncomfortable. She was concerned about your mental state. Said you've been acting erratically, making impulsive decisions. She asked if we'd noticed any changes in your work performance. I felt like I'd been punched. She called my workplace. I assured her you've been nothing but professional and reliable, Karen continued quickly. But I wanted you to know. If there's something going on that's affecting you, we have employee assistance resources. There's nothing wrong with me, I said, my voice shaking. My mother and I are having a disagreement about my wedding, and she's trying to make me look unstable to force me back under her control. Karen nodded slowly. I believe you. But Jessica, if she calls again, I'll need to document it. For your protection and the company's. I left her office feeling exposed and violated in a way I'd never experienced. She'd actually called my job. She'd tried to sabotage my career because I wouldn't let her dictate my wedding. That night, Daniel found me sitting in the dark living room, staring at nothing. Babe, what's wrong? I told him everything. The family calls, the pressure, the workplace incident. With each word, his expression grew darker. That's insane. She can't do that. She just did, I whispered. And everyone thinks I'm the problem. Even my dad thinks I should just apologize and move on. Daniel sat beside me, pulling me close. What do you want to do? I leaned into him, feeling the full weight of the past week crash over me. I don't know anymore. Maybe she's right. Maybe I am being selfish. Stop, he said firmly. You're not selfish for wanting a wedding that doesn't bankrupt us. You're not selfish for setting boundaries with someone who treats you like a performing monkey. Then why does it feel so terrible? Because she's made you feel guilty for existing your entire life. That doesn't go away overnight. Saturday morning brought the worst blow yet. I woke up to a text from Amanda. Jess, I'm so sorry. I tried to stop her. I called immediately. Stop her from what? Amanda's voice was tight. She posted on Facebook. About you. About the wedding. My hands went numb. What did she say? I'll send you a screenshot. The image came through seconds later. My mother's post, public for all her 500 friends to see. My daughter is going through a difficult time right now. Planning a wedding is stressful, and I'm afraid the pressure has caused her to make some hurtful decisions. I'm asking for prayers and patience as our family navigates this challenging season. Sometimes love means setting boundaries, even when it breaks your heart. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with support. The comments were already rolling in. So sorry you're going through this. Praying for your family. Young people today don't understand respect. Stay strong, Mama. I read it 3 times, each pass making me angrier. She'd turned me into a cautionary tale. She'd made herself the victim and me the unstable daughter who couldn't handle wedding stress. She'd weaponized social media to control the narrative before I could even defend myself. She's unbelievable, I breathed. Do you want to respond? Amanda asked. Every fiber of my being wanted to screenshot every cruel thing she'd said, every manipulation, every guilt trip. I wanted to expose her for exactly what she was. But then I remembered something my therapist had said years ago. When you fight with someone who has no boundaries, you don't win. You just get dirty. No, I said finally. Let her have her pity party. Everyone who actually knows me knows the truth. Jess, her friends are sharing it. People are talking. Let them talk, I said, surprised by how calm I felt. I'm done performing for an audience that was never going to applaud anyway. After we hung up, I deactivated my Facebook account. Then my Instagram. Then every social media platform where she could find me, contact me, or turn me into content for her victim narrative. Daniel watched me do it, concern etched into every line of his face. Are you okay? I looked up at him, this man who'd stood beside me through all of this without once suggesting I should just give in for the sake of peace. Ask me in a month, I said. Right now I'm just surviving. That night, curled up in bed, I whispered into the darkness, Mom, I don't know if you'll ever understand this. But I had to choose myself. Even if it meant losing you. The silence that answered felt like grief. But somewhere underneath the pain, a small voice whispered back. At least now you're free to find out who you are without her script. 3 weeks passed in a strange kind of silence. No calls from Mom. No flying monkeys dispatched by concerned relatives. Just quiet, broken only by the sound of me and Daniel actually planning a wedding we wanted. We found a small garden venue on the outskirts of Portland, tucked behind a bed and breakfast run by a woman named Margaret who'd been married for 47 years. The rental was $800, including tables and chairs. When I told her our budget, she didn't laugh or judge. She just smiled and said, Honey, the marriage matters more than the party. I cried in her garden that afternoon, surrounded by rose bushes and the smell of lavender, finally understanding what a wedding could feel like without shame attached to every decision. Daniel's cousin knew a baker who made simple but beautiful cakes. Our friends offered to help with decorations. My college roommate, Emma, who happened to be an amateur DJ, volunteered her services for the cost of dinner and drinks. Piece by piece, we built something real. But the silence from my family felt like standing in the eye of a hurricane, knowing the other side was coming. It arrived on a Tuesday in the form of my father standing at our apartment door, looking older than I remembered. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I stepped aside, letting him into the space my mother had never visited because she'd called it too small, too dated, too far from the nice neighborhoods. Dad looked around, taking in our mismatched furniture and the wedding planning materials spread across the coffee table. Your mother doesn't know I'm here, he said, settling onto the couch. Of course she doesn't. He winced at my tone. Jessie, I'm not here to fight. I'm here because I owe you an apology. I froze, coffee pot halfway to a mug. What? I should have said something years ago. The way she talks to you, the way she makes you feel like nothing you do is good enough. I've watched it happen your whole life, and I told myself I was keeping the peace. But I wasn't. I was just being a coward. I sat down slowly, unsure if I was actually awake. Dad, what brought this on? He rubbed his face, exhausted. Last week, she wanted to call your boss again. Said if Karen wouldn't listen, maybe the company's HR department would. I told her absolutely not. That's when we had the biggest fight of our marriage. You fought with Mom? Over me? Over a lot of things, he said. Things I should have said 30 years ago. I told her she was pushing you away. That her need to control everything was destroying our family. She didn't take it well. I imagined that conversation, the explosion that must have followed. Where is she now? At her sister's place. We're taking some space. He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you because you deserve to know that what you did, standing up for yourself, it wasn't wrong. It was brave. Something cracked open in my chest, years of doubt and guilt spilling out. I thought I was losing my mind. Everyone kept telling me I was being unreasonable. You weren't, Dad said firmly. Your mother has good qualities. She's loyal, hardworking, protective. But she shows love by controlling, and that's not love at all. That's fear. Fear of what? Of not being needed. Of not being important. Your grandmother was the same way with her. It's a cycle, Jess. And you're the first person brave enough to break it. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of decades settling between us. Are you and Mom going to be okay? I asked finally. He smiled sadly. I don't know. But for the first time in years, I'm being honest with her. And with myself. Whatever happens, at least it'll be real. Before he left, he handed me an envelope. This is from me. Not your mother. My contribution to whatever wedding you want to have. Inside was a check for $5,000. Dad, I can't take this. Yes, you can. Because I want to. Because I'm proud of you. Because you deserve to start your marriage without debt hanging over your head. He hugged me tight. And Jessie? I'll be at that wedding. Front row. Even if I'm the only family member there. After he left, I sat holding that check, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Not because of the money, but because he'd finally seen me. Really seen me. The next shift came from an unexpected source. Amanda called that Friday, her voice strange. Jess, something weird happened. Mom tried to friend me on a burner Facebook account to see your deleted posts. What? Yeah. I recognized her writing style in the profile bio. She's trying to find ways to monitor you since you blocked her everywhere. That's insane. I know. But here's the thing. When I confronted her about it, she broke down. Like, really broke down. Started crying about how she's lost you, how she doesn't know how to fix this. It wasn't manipulation. She actually seemed scared. I didn't know what to feel. Relief? Vindication? Or just more exhaustion? What do you think I should do? I asked. Amanda was quiet for a moment. I think you keep living your life. She's the one who needs to figure out how to be different. You've already done your part. 2 days before our rescheduled venue walkthrough, I received a letter in the mail. Real paper, real stamp, my mother's handwriting on the envelope. My hands shook as I opened it. Jessica, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to call. I just need you to know that I've been talking to someone, a therapist, about why I react the way I do. She's helping me see things I didn't want to see about myself. I was wrong about the wedding. I was wrong about a lot of things. You're not frivolous or irresponsible. You're strong and independent, and that terrifies me because it means you don't need me anymore. I'm working on understanding that your independence isn't rejection. It's growth. I don't know if I'll ever be the mother you deserve, but I'm trying to at least become someone who doesn't hurt you. I love you. I'm sorry. Mom. I read it 5 times, looking for manipulation, for hidden demands, for conditions. But it was just an apology. Raw, imperfect, but real. Daniel found me on the couch, letter in hand, tears streaming down my face. Is that from her? I nodded, unable to speak. What do you want to do? I folded the letter carefully, placing it in the drawer with our wedding planning materials. Nothing. Not yet. But maybe someday. The invitation arrived in my parents' mailbox 3 weeks later. Simple cardstock, sage green with cream lettering. Daniel Parker and Jessica Monroe invite you to celebrate their marriage. October 14th, garden ceremony. Casual attire. Taco truck reception to follow. Dad called within an hour. We'll be there. Both of you? I asked carefully. Both of us. Your mother asked me to tell you she understands if you don't want her there. But she hopes you'll let her come. Not as the mother of the bride. Just as a guest. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the decision. Tell her she can come. On one condition. What's that? No opinions. No criticism. No comments about what we should have done differently. She shows up, she supports us, or she doesn't come at all. I'll make sure she understands. That night, I stood in our small bathroom, looking at myself in the mirror. The bride staring back wasn't the one I'd imagined at 22. She was harder, wiser, scarred in places that didn't show. But she was free. And that made all the difference. October 14th dawned clear and golden, the kind of autumn day that makes you believe in new beginnings. The garden looked like something out of a dream, strung with simple white lights and wildflowers we'd arranged ourselves the night before. 75 people, the ones who actually mattered, filled the chairs under the oak trees. My dress cost $400 from a local boutique, and I'd never felt more beautiful. As I walked down the aisle on my father's arm, I saw my mother in the 3rd row. She wore a soft blue dress, her hands folded in her lap, tears streaming down her face. She didn't try to catch my eye or mouth instructions. She just sat there, present but not dominant, and that small gesture meant everything. Daniel's vows made everyone cry. Mine made everyone laugh. We ate tacos and drank beer and danced to music we actually liked. There were no ice sculptures or champagne towers or 5-course meals. There was just love, uncomplicated and real. Near the end of the night, my mother approached me carefully, like I might bolt. Jessica, it was perfect. Truly perfect. I searched her face for sarcasm and found none. Thank you for coming, Mom. Thank you for letting me. She hesitated, then added quietly, I'm proud of you. For knowing what you wanted and not letting anyone, including me, take it away. We didn't hug. We weren't there yet. But she smiled, genuine and soft, and I smiled back. It was enough. Later, as Daniel and I drove away in his old Honda decorated with tin cans and shaving cream, I looked back at the garden one last time. My father waving, Amanda blowing kisses, my mother standing alone but no longer angry. No regrets? Daniel asked. I thought about the fancy venue, the expensive dress, the version of this day that would have impressed people I didn't even like. Then I looked at the man beside me, at the simple gold band on my finger, at the future we'd built ourselves. Not a single one, I whispered. Because the best weddings aren't the ones that look perfect in photos. They're the ones where you recognize yourself when you look back. And for the first time in my life, I finally did. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.